Today, our cane growers virtual bus tour is in the Mackay region in mid-December. On the city's northern outskirts, the Farley Mill works around the clock. Today, there's been 100 millimetres of rain. In years gone by, it might have caused serious erosion, but growers here have adapted their farming methods to minimise the runoff of sediment and farm inputs into the Great Barrier Reef lagoon. CANEGROWERS Chairman Paul Schembri farms in the hills of Farley. The crop is thriving and the topsoil is intact.
Look at the leaf, it's just lapping it up. Because we've got the soil intact, the soil hasn't moved, so the cane is growing in its optimum environment. We've got a lot of hilly country here. In the past, the water would have annihilated the topsoil, washed it all away, but green trash blanketing has been a revolution. As you can see, what it does do is it dissipates the energy of heavy rainfall events, but also it acts as a blanket and smothers the development of weeds. So look, it's been a revolution. Look at the cane, it's rich green. Obviously, because the soil isn't moving, that cane is operating in an optimum cane growing environment.
The demands of farming on the coast have prompted long-term improvements to farming methods. After all, Mackay is one of Australia's most significant cane growing regions, and it's also a gateway to the reef and the idyllic Whitsunday Islands.
Well, the Great Barrier Reef is a national and international icon, and we take our environmental responsibility very seriously. We farm 400,000 hectares adjoining the Great Barrier Reef. Some people have described this as probably one of the most challenging environmental gigs on planet Earth. But we're up for it.
In partnership with his brother Joe, who manages the harvesting side of the business, Paul Schembri has developed a farm management system to suit the specific conditions of the Farley district. The methodology has gained a tick of approval from Smartcane BMP, the industry-driven best practice scheme for sustainable farm management.
One of the features of our farms is that a lot of water moves across the paddocks, and we have a creek down there that has some fast-flowing water in flood situations. So the one element we've had to manage is obviously dealing with water and drainage. Otherwise we would not have a sustainable future. And so we took a view very early on that we needed to ensure that we didn't disturb the soil. The soil is the heartbeat of our farming operation. We needed to keep it on the farm. And so we've evolved into a system that's all about minimum till, zero till. We cultivate as least as possible, and we are quite conscious about the timing of cultivations. And so we augment that then with a chemical system.
Evaluated against the Smartcane BMP core module benchmarks, the Schembri brothers' approach to drainage management, soil health and nutrition management, and weed, pest and disease management is in step with industry best practice. Now the CANEGROWERS Chairman wants fellow growers to prove their farming methods are also up to standard by engaging with Smartcane BMP.
We need to be environmentally sustainable, and if you ask every farmer, they want to be environmentally sustainable as well. So BMP is important in that it's an opportunity to tell our story of environmental stewardship. I have this very strong and passionate belief that most farmers, all farmers in fact, are doing the right thing, but our challenge is to tell the story of what we're doing, and BMP is an opportunity to do that.
The Schembris chose what could be described as an old-school approach to their farm record keeping, one that doesn't depend on a high degree of computer literacy. The result is a highly visual portfolio that's easy to read and understand.
I struck upon the idea of doing it on the basis of layered representation of maps, and I wanted to capture all the things I was doing as a farmer, my fertiliser, my chemical applications. I wanted to do something that was tactile, so if I could sit down with a minister or whoever it might be, I could demonstrate to that minister or whoever that I was competent and I knew what I was doing as a farmer.
It's a creative approach and puts to bed the myth that growers need to be good on a computer to achieve Smartcane BMP accreditation.
I think most farmers have got the information, they've got the records. I guess the greatest challenge was pulling it all together. Well, one of the requirements of BMP as well is to not only record the fertiliser you have used, but when you applied it. And so I wanted to do it in a visual way, and so the richness of colour here denotes when the fertiliser was applied. It was basically applied in 4 rounds, hence the colouring. And for each block on this farm, it indicates at what date the fertiliser was applied.
The Schembris use a combination of pre-emergence and glyphosate applied in the inter-row spacing to maintain a clean trash blanket. A banded spray rig is used for targeted application, minimising the risk of spray drift and reducing the amount of chemical needed.
In my lifetime as a cane farmer, the greatest revolution I've seen is the use of agricultural chemicals. This is a sustainable system. This was harvested green. We've kept the trash blanket. I sprayed this with Balance, and we have not been near the paddock since 30 years ago. Would have cultivated this up and down the slope, and the first rain we would have had, all of the soil would have been washed out to sea. We're getting better at a sustainable system.
It's crucial to be spot on with the timing of chemical applications and the amount of chemical used. And keeping records of previous events for future reference is smart farming.
This map is a representation of chemical applications. It's one of the key requirements of BMP. So I've captured it in a visual sense by a map representation. Each paddock records the type of chemical that was applied and, importantly, the date that it was applied. In this circumstance, or this instance here, this paddock had flame applied and the date that it was applied. But I've also recorded all the chemical applications in a tabular form, and so for every chemical application, when it was applied, the chemical and all the salient details that you need.
The final of the 3 core modules of Smartcane BMP is irrigation and drainage management. The Schembri farms are rain-fed, meaning no supplementary irrigation.
This page is a representation of drainage on the farm. What this page shows is the flow of water over all the paddocks on the farm that we are filming on today. What I wanted to do was a visual representation of how the water flowed on each paddock and through the main drains as such.
Alongside the maps and graphic representations, Paul also has hard copy records of nutrient and chemical applications on farm. It's the sort of data most cane growers already have in logbooks.
At its very basic form, and I say to farmers, some farmers say, well, I don't know what to do around BMP. Where do I start this journey? If they just start keeping records, they are almost getting to 90% of the journey. Once you've got the bedrock, and the bedrock is keeping the data and the records, the rest of it comes fairly easily because you can build it up. Now that I've built up our level of information and record keeping, the maintenance of it is relatively low.
The challenge ahead is to lift the number of growers in the Smartcane BMP program. By doing that, the industry can send a strong message to the Australian community and the world that our growers care about the future of the Great Barrier Reef and the future of sustainable agriculture.
Success is the sum of all the small bits. The more people who participate create the aggregate result. We need to get the level of participation and accreditation up because I know that the growers I represent and the growers of the Australian sugar industry are some of the most environmentally sustainable farmers in the world. But this BMP program is just a way of telling our story. The constant message I receive from government and communities is you prove to us that you have stepped up to the plate, and BMP is that great opportunity for us to demonstrate we are environmentally responsible and good land stewards.